to our 60 Minutes replay. Let's take another look at the roads with Tiffany Whitstrom.
You know, overall, your ride's looking pretty good. We've been taking a look at this crash in San Jose, southbound 101 near Tully Road. There's two vehicles involved. One of those cars was, I guess, going pretty quick, and they lost control, went down an embankment, hit a tree about 20 feet off the roadway. So they've been bringing in tow trucks there with enough cable to extract them. I'm going to double check again, but I haven't seen any backups on this part of 101 south at Tully, and I still don't. Your ride on 101 is really good between San Jose all the way into San Francisco and beyond. In fact, right over the Golden Gate Bridge, so good right now. Our cameras are pointed right at it. It's a clear ride. Not many people on the bridge. A good way to go across. Your next update, in fact, you can get traffic when you need it, 24/7 from the traffic meter, KCBS.
Mostly cloudy overnight, lows in the low 50s. Morning overcast will give way to sunshine later on today with highs in the 60s and 70s. KCBS News Time 1:09. Let's get 60 Minutes now on KCBS. Frank Larkin's service to America is extraordinary. A former Navy SEAL whose government career included the Secret Service, the Pentagon, and the U.S. Senate. But Larkin's greatest contribution is happening now, in retirement, after his son Ryan, a decorated Navy SEAL himself, took his own life. Ryan's death was put down to mental illness, case closed. But as we first told you earlier this year, Frank Larkin didn't buy it. He suspected his son's military service resulted in an invisible brain injury, a kind of wound unknown to science. If Larkin was right, it might explain many military suicides. And so began Frank Larkin's war, which would send a shockwave through the Pentagon. It began in April 2017, when Larkin and his wife opened the door to a silent home.
I went in the house, we started calling his name, didn't hear any response, and so I went into the basement and I found him. He had taken his life sometime during the night. He was dressed in his SEAL Team 7 t-shirt, had a pair of red, white, and blue board shorts on, and had illuminated a shadow box next to him that had all his medals, ribbons, and other key insignia. It was a shadow box that I had made for him for the previous holiday to just capture, how proud I was of him and what he had done, and as a symbol of his service to the nation. And then he had also burned a hard drive in the fireplace with all his deployment photos that he had from, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Africa. I've spent over 40 years of my life rescuing other people. And in the end, I couldn't rescue my own son.
His son, Ryan, was 29. For him, the military was destiny. Ryan had been 13 years old in September 2001, when his dad was assigned to the New York Secret Service office across the street from the World Trade Center.
He was motivated by 9/11. I had been on the ground on 9/11 in New York City, had gotten caught up in all that turmoil, and he had witnessed that from a hillside west of the city, a town that we lived in New Jersey. And it, emotionally impacted him. I didn't realize how much.
So much that Ryan joined the Navy out of high school and rose to elite special operations, a SEAL, or as Navy slang has it, a frogman. This is Ryan on one of 4 combat tours, 2 in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. One stretch lasted about a year. When did you notice that Ryan was not the Ryan that you knew?
It was coming off that year-long deployment. He became short-fused. He stopped laughing, which was a key sign. He became very stoic in his facial expression. I would almost characterize it as putting a mask on, where at times he would get into this, mode where he was almost looking right through you.
Ryan had returned from the wars to become an instructor in training like this. But his mood only darkened. Navy doctors scanned Ryan's brain but saw no physical injury. He was treated for depression, alcoholism, in and out of the hospital.
But at no point had they ever settled on a clinical diagnosis as to what was wrong with him. And it just